Hey, this is Austin Weber with Weber Bracketology, where every day is Selection Sunday. And yesterday was Selection Sunday, so the official bracket has been released. Though my projection wasn't as great as I hoped, it's just time to have fun and make some picks for this year's tournament. So I'm going to go through and make my picks for every game and how I think the tournament's going to play out. I'm not usually very good at this. I'm actually pretty terrible because I kind of use my brain too much, and obviously it's March Madness, so nothing that you predict is going to happen will actually happen. So we're just going to go ahead and we're going to have fun with it. So first we're going to start off, we're going to pick the whole first, we'll do each quadrant at a time. So we'll pick all the way to the final four and then we'll move on to the next. So we're going to start off with, in the South region, obviously we're going to pick Alabama, the 1 seed to win. I like West Virginia over Maryland. Maryland, they're just not very deep. And I think West Virginia kind of got a lower seed than they deserve just because they had 14 losses, but that's because they played in the Big 12. So I'm going to go with West Virginia there. San Diego State, Charleston. I like Charleston, but I like San Diego State a lot more. So I'm going to go with them. I think they have just too many weapons on offense to lose in the first round. And then Virginia and Furman. I'm picking Furman here because, first of all, I think I was going to pick Furman regardless of where they were. I really like that team. And then Virginia, I think Virginia was seeded higher than they deserved. I think they deserved probably a 5 seed. But I just think Furman has a little bit too much offense for Virginia in the first round. And then for Creighton, North Carolina State, I'm going to go with Creighton because North Carolina State, they're hot and cold. North Carolina State, I mean, they could go all the way to the Elite Eight or they could lose in the first round just because it depends on how well their guards are shooting. That's really going to be all of it. And I think that Ryan Kalkbrenner matches up well with DJ Burns inside. And then we're going to go with Baylor over UC Santa Barbara. I think Baylor is just so good on offense. They have great guards. And I think they got a chance for a really deep run in the tournament. Mizzou and Utah State. Utah State can shoot the lights out of anybody, but so can Mizzou. And I kind of like that Arizona down there. That's a good little quadrant for off if you like 3-point shooting and offense. I'm gonna go with Mizzou though, and I'm gonna go with Arizona because Arizona I think offense is just too good. And then we're gonna go for Alabama, West Virginia. I do think Alabama is just a little too talented. I don't think West Virginia is gonna be able to keep up with them. And then San Diego State, Furman. I think Furman's a really good team, but like I said, San Diego State has a lot of weapons. This is a really good offensive quadrant of the bracket right here. And then Creighton and Baylor, once again, I think offense is going to be the difference here. And I think Baylor, they've got a deeper team and they've just got better scoring guards. Though Creighton could easily win, I just like Baylor's offense a little bit more. Mizzou, Arizona, this is a game. Arizona's had some games this year where they just can't shoot. And if that happens against Mizzou, you're in for trouble. But I do think Arizona is going to be the winner there. So it's pretty chalky so far, but it's really hard to pick upsets because you never know who it's going to be. I'm going to say Alabama over San Diego State because I just think Alabama is just really talented. Though San Diego State could give them a run for their money with their defense and with just how many weapons they have on offense. But I think they don't have the efficiency and the athleticism that Alabama has. And then we're going to pick Baylor over Arizona. Though Baylor's defense isn't the greatest as it's been compared to how it's been in the past, I do think Baylor's experienced guards and I will do well. And I think they have enough size inside to kind of slow down Arizona's bigs. But that would be a fantastic matchup. And then I just think Alabama's going to go to the Final Four. The whole year they've just proven, especially if you watch the SEC championship, they're just playing really great basketball right now. So I think Alabama will go to the Final Four from their South region. And then in the Midwest, we're going to pick Houston. Even though Marcus Sasser's hurt, we don't know how he's going to play if he comes back, but I think against the 16 seed that's pretty safe. Iowa, Auburn. This is a really good matchup because Iowa can score in bunches and Auburn can defend really, really well. If I had to pick, I'm going to go with Auburn because Iowa's defense isn't great, and if Auburn's guards are able to score, I think they're a really dangerous team. So I'm going to go with Auburn there. Miami and Drake. Miami's got some injuries, and I just really like this Drake team. They're really experienced. They've got a lot of old guys. They got a lot of players that were there a few years ago when they did make the tournament as an at-large. So they have like a 25-year-old point guard. They have a huge big down low. I think Drake will pull the upset there. But then here, I really like Indiana. I think they'll beat Kent State. I just think Indiana's got a lot of talent on offense, and they've really improved as the year's gone on. Iowa State versus the winner of Mississippi State Pitt. Mississippi State and Pitt are two teams I don't have a lot of faith in the tournament, so I'm going to go with Iowa State there regardless of who they play. And then for Xavier Kennesaw State, Xavier is really, really good on offense. They can make the Final Four, but I really like Kennesaw State. And if we're going to pick some upsets, I think it's going to be an experienced, athletic, big team that can score the ball well, like Kennesaw State. Texas A&M, Penn State. Texas A&M is much better than a 7 seed. I think that's a pretty easy pick, though. Penn State can really light it up from 3. I mean, that's pretty much their offense. They're hot and cold like that. But I think Texas A&M defensively is just too good. And then Texas, while Colgate is a really efficient offense, I just think Texas is too athletic and too talented. Houston, Auburn. Unlike Iowa, I think Houston's defense can really cause a lot of trouble for Auburn. This is going to be a low-scoring game if they play each other. I'm going to pick Houston just because I don't think Auburn's offense can keep up. But depending on Marcus Esser's health, that could be a chance for Houston to go out pretty early. Drake and Indiana. While I do like this Drake team, it's Indiana's just too talented. I think Jalen Hood-Schifino is going to be huge in the tournament. Though he's a freshman, he can just score the ball, and then Trace Jackson Davis down low, I think, will be too much for Drake. Kennesaw State, I think they're good. I think Iowa State defensively is just going to give them something they won't be able to handle, so Iowa State would win that matchup. And then Texas A&M is a really tough one because Texas A&M is playing better than, besides that last SEC championship game, they've really been playing better than anyone in the country at this point, but so is Texas, and Texas offensively just has the more talent. So we go with Texas. And then Houston, Indiana. I think Indiana will get the win. I don't think Houston's really seen teams like Indiana too much this year. They haven't played too many teams that talented. Obviously, they played Virginia and Alabama early, but it's been a while. So I think we'll go with Indiana there. And then Texas, Iowa State, Texas. I just think they're the most talented team in this region, which is why I'm going to pick them also to go to the Final Four. All right, down to the West. Obviously, we're going to pick Kansas against Howard. Kansas just far too talented there. Arkansas, Illinois. I like this matchup, but I think Arkansas has just been playing much better than Illinois. Illinois has been playing rather poorly down the stretch. I think they got a little bit higher of a seed than they deserved. They only had 2 quad 1 wins. Those were early in the year against Texas and UCLA. Obviously, very good wins, but I think Arkansas will pull off that win there. St. Mary's, VCU. I think VCU has improved a lot. I think they could have been an at-large if they didn't struggle early on if Ace Baldwin wasn't hurt. So I really like I'm a big fan of VCU in general, but they've been scoring the ball really well lately. So they've got some veteran players like Ace Baldwin at point guard. So I'm going to go with them for the upset. UConn, Iona. I think UConn is a team that's going to be on upset watch because sometimes they can play pretty poorly, but I'm going to go with them to win that game there. TCU versus Arizona State or Nevada. I think TCU is far better than a 6 seed, even without Eddie Lampkin. TCU is going to be a tough team to beat in this tournament. Gonzaga, Grand Canyon. Gonzaga is just too high-powered on offense. I don't think they'll have any trouble there. Northwestern, Boise State's a good one. I just think Boise State's going to be able to score the ball much better than Northwestern, so I'm going to pick them there. Though Northwestern's defense is good, so is Boise State's. So I just feel like Boise State will win that one, and then UCLA over UNC Asheville. Kansas, Arkansas. Obviously, Kansas struggles against these better defensive teams, but I think offensively, Arkansas doesn't have not the talent. They don't have they haven't played as well offensively as Kansas this year. I think Kansas is just better on that end, and Kansas can defend really well. VCU, UConn. This is another time I really like VCU. But I'm going to go with UConn just because I think UConn offensively and defensively, when they're on their game, they're one of the best teams in the country. and they could easily make a Final Four if they play as well as they can. TCU, Gonzaga. I really like TCU here, but I don't know if they'll be able to keep up on offense. So I'm gonna go with Gonzaga. That's kind of chalky, but I'm gonna go with I'll go with TCU here. I think the Big 12 is really good, so they're gonna have a lot of teams making it pretty far in here. So I just think TCU, when they're on their game, they can play fast. Gonzaga plays fast, but TCU is better than any team in the country when it comes to fast breaks. So I'm going to go with TCU there if they can turn Gonzaga over. UCLA, Boise State. Though Jalen Clark is out, I don't think Boise State has the offensive talent to match up with UCLA. So I'm going to pick them there. Then Kansas, UConn. I'm going to go with Kansas. They'd have a lot of problems with Sonogo and really just the UConn bigs. That would be a really tough matchup for them. But I'm a Kansas fan, so I'm going to go with Kansas. Though UConn could that would be a really tough matchup for Kansas. Any team with really quality bigs could be a tough matchup. Though they've played well against bigs this year, even with their undersized team, and especially if Ernest Udeh plays well. Then TCU, UCLA. In this bracket, I'm picking a little different than my bracket I picked yesterday, but not very much different. But here, I'm gonna go with TCU over UCLA. I don't think UCLA can keep up with TCU offensively without Jalen Clark. I think that hurts them on the defensive end. So I'm going to go with Kansas TCU in the Elite Eight, and we're going to pick Kansas to win that one. And they'll have their fourth matchup with Texas over in the Final Four. And then finally, we're going to move on to the East region. We're going to pick Purdue to win in the first round. Memphis FAU is a good matchup, but I think Memphis is really hot right now. They played so well against Houston. I like Memphis. They're really a veteran team. They're big, athletic. I like them there. Duke and Oral Roberts. This is a tough one because Duke is playing better than pretty much anyone in the country right now. They've really started clicking on offense, and they've been really good on defense all year pretty much. And Oral Roberts hasn't lost. Who knows when it was last time they lost. It was probably early December. They went undefeated in conference play, and they can score like crazy, but Duke's just too big and too athletic for them. Tennessee, Louisiana, without Sakai Ziegler and just with Tennessee's offensive struggles, I think they're a team that's a lot of people are going to get pick to get upset, which means they probably won't, but I'm going to pick Louisiana here to beat them. Kentucky and Providence. I think Kentucky, like Duke, has been playing really well as of late. Their young players have started to get better and better, so I'm going to pick them to beat Providence there. Kansas State, I think Keontae Johnson really is just going to be too much for a mid-major to deal with, so I'm going to pick Kansas State there. Michigan State, USC. Both these teams can be pretty bad on offense at times. I just think defensively I like USC a little bit more, so I'm going to go with them there. And then we'll pick Marquette to beat Vermont. Purdue, Memphis. I think this is going to be one of my bigger upsets. I have Memphis beating Purdue. I think they have the physicality and a tough enough defense to match up with Zach Edey, and they won't stop him, but they can contain him. And then on the perimeter, I think they'll make it really difficult for those Purdue guards. So I'm going to go with Memphis. I'm going to pick Duke over Louisiana because I just think Duke's playing really well, and that's the same way I'm going to pick Kentucky. I think Kansas State's obviously going to be a tough matchup for them, but I think Kentucky's just playing too good right now. And then we'll pick Marquette to beat USC. I just think offensively Marquette's just too good there. Memphis and Duke. While Memphis is a really good defensive team, I think Duke's just a little bit bigger, a little more athletic. So we're going to pick them to go over to the Elite Eight, and they're going to be playing, I think, Kentucky, a pair of blue bloods, a 5 and 6 seed will be playing each other. I think Marquette, great on offense, but Kentucky's been playing pretty well on offense themselves. So we're going to pick Kentucky versus Duke, but I do think it's Duke that's going to come out on top. So our Final Four, we have Alabama versus Duke and Texas and Kansas. I do think as good as Duke's been playing, Alabama's just a little bit better. So we're going to pick Alabama versus, I'm saying Kansas. Texas is a really tough matchup for Kansas. Especially it's going to be in Texas. It's in Houston, but still in Texas. It's going to be a really tough matchup, but I trust Bill Self so much that I'm going to put him in the championship game, and I'm going to pick him to beat Alabama by a score of 79-64. to 75. That is my final pick for the champions. I have Kansas over Alabama. This is going to be wrong after probably 2 games, but it's just kind of fun to look at all the matchups and see how things could play out, because really I have some teams losing in the first, second round that could end up making deep runs. Teams that I picked to lose that I think could make those deep runs. Obviously Arizona I have losing in the Sweet 16, but they could obviously win the championship. Over in the Midwest, I really like Texas A&M. They could easily upset Texas, who I have in the Final Four. So that's a 7 seed that could probably get to a Final Four. Over here, UConn. If I wasn't a Kansas fan, I probably would have picked UConn. But I don't. UCLA, I don't know if I trust a lot to make the Final Four. So UConn is probably the team I'd say here. And then over here, obviously Purdue is a 1 seed I have losing in the second round, so they can make it far. Marquette too. This is a tough region over here. I wouldn't want to be in the East. I mean, Tennessee is probably the weakest of the 4s just because of injuries and how bad their offense can be, but that's what I got. We're going to click finish right there. We have Kansas winning the championship this year, and really I'm just excited. Hopefully Kansas can repeat, but it's just going to be fun. That's all March Madness needs to be. It's going to be fun. So let me know in the comments who you're picking to win the championship, who you got in the Final Four, and subscribe here for more college basketball content. It's going to be going on further past March Madness and all that, and visit WeberBracketology.com for more.